Admitted. The Strange Tale of Depsey the Rabbit. Chapter 38. The Roejob's Intervention. The studio clock read 4:23 a.m., but Willie had lost all sense of time hours ago. His world had contracted to the circle of lamplight around his drawing desk, where Lucy's character sheet lay beneath his magnifying glass like a patient awaiting delicate surgery. "Every curve has to be perfect," he muttered, adjusting the angle of his pencil for the 100th time. Every rosy cheek, every delicate line of her crown. His hand cramped from hours of microscopic precision work, but he ignored the pain. Lucy's porcelain features were emerging from corruption with crystalline clarity, each restored detail more vibrant than the original sketches. The tentacle marks that had crowded her design were gone now, erased with systematic fury, leaving space for the character he'd truly intended to create. Behind him, the makeshift projector flickered and sparked, its jury-rigged connection growing unstable. Chuck and Depsey's voices drifted through increasing static, growing more distant with each passing moment. "Willie!" Chuck's voice carried desperate urgency. "The connection's weakening. We can barely see you." But Willie didn't look up. His attention had narrowed to the impossible delicacy required for Lucy's crown, each tiny flourish that caught cartoon light, each subtle curve that suggested precious metal, without losing the playful innocence of animated design. "Make her beautiful, honey," echoed Sarah's voice from 3 years ago, weak but determined from her hospital bed. "The children need beautiful things." The memory washed over him as his pencil traced Lucy's cheek with surgical precision. Those endless nights in the cancer ward, Sarah too sick from chemo to sleep, asking him to tell her stories about his cartoon characters. He'd sketched by the glow of medical equipment, creating adventures for Depsey, Chuck, and Lucy, while Sarah's breathing grew shallower by degrees. "What's Lucy doing today, Willie?" Sarah had asked, her thin fingers tracing the character's face on his latest drawing. "Is she having tea parties? Teaching the others about kindness?" "Just need to get the reflection right on the porcelain," Willie whispered now, adding microscopic highlights that would make Lucy's surface seem to glow with inner warmth. His grandchildren's voices joined Sarah's in memory, 8-year-old Emma and 6-year-old Tyler, eyes wide with wonder, as he'd shown them new sketches during their hospital visits. "Tell us about Lucy's tea parties, Grandpa. Does she really have magic teacups?" Behind him, reality began to warp. The projector's screen erupted with interference, horizontal lines tearing through Chuck and Depsey's desperate faces. The connection that had seemed miraculous just hours ago now crackled and faded, dimensional barriers reasserting themselves with electromagnetic violence. "Willie!" Depsey's voice barely audible through the static. "Something's happening. The signal's being cut." But Willie remained hunched over his work, adding the final touches to Lucy's crown with the obsessive care of a jeweler setting diamonds. The studio around him had become irrelevant. Only the character mattered. Only the promise he'd made to Sarah mattered. The temperature plummeted. Frost began forming on the studio windows despite the September warmth outside. The walls themselves seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting with rhythms that had nothing to do with earthly architecture. The ceiling dripped upward, droplets of moisture falling towards some impossible sky that existed in dimensions parallel to normal space. Something vast was approaching. The projector screen flared white, then went completely black. The silence that followed wasn't the absence of sound. It was the presence of something so enormous that it absorbed all noise, all light, all warmth from the immediate reality. Then came the voice. "Enough!" The word didn't come through the air. It bypassed Willie's ears entirely, speaking directly to his consciousness with the weight of geological ages, ancient beyond human comprehension, patient as erosion, vast as the spaces between galaxies. Tentacles erupted through the dimensional fabric. They tore through the wall behind the projector like tissue paper, each appendage thick as tree trunks and covered in textures that shouldn't exist. Surfaces that were simultaneously wet and dry, hard and yielding, organic and mineral. They moved with predatory intelligence, seeking the source of their frustration with methodical precision. The projector didn't stand a chance. Tentacles wrapped around the device and squeezed. Metal screamed as it was compressed into impossible shapes, sparks erupting like dying stars. The electrical connection that had bridged dimensions snapped with a sound like cosmic thunder, echoing through realities that existed beyond normal perception. In the cartoon world, Chuck and Depsey watched their lifeline to salvation die. "We've lost him," Chuck cried, his yellow surface flickering as hope drained from his expression. "The creator is gone." "The connection's dead," Depsey said, his voice hollow with despair. "We're alone again." Lucy's restored form wavered like a mirage, threatening to fade back into the corruption that had claimed her for so long. The light that had blazed from her porcelain features dimmed, warmth leaching away as cosmic darkness reasserted its influence. "It's over," Chuck whispered, sinking to his knees in their dimensional prison. "The entity's won." But in his studio, Willie didn't even look up. His pencil continued its microscopic dance across Lucy's character sheet, adding final details to her crown with the same obsessive precision that had marked his work for 40 years. The cosmic chaos raging around him, tentacles writhing through impossible geometries, reality bending under alien attention, his projector reduced to smoking scrap. None of it penetrated his artistic focus. "Just need to get the reflection right on the porcelain," he murmured, adjusting his magnifying glass for optimal detail work. Sarah always said the details matter most. The vast presence that had destroyed his equipment turned its attention to the source of its frustration. Reality warped as cosmic consciousness focused on one human hunched over a drawing desk, apparently oblivious to the dimensional catastrophe surrounding him. "You work with such dedication, little artist." The voice spoke directly into Willie's mind now, conversational and almost amused. The words carried the weight of eons, the patience of something that had existed since the first stories were told around the first fires. Willie's pencil paused for just a moment, not from fear, but from the same careful consideration he'd give to any interruption during delicate work. "Do you remember why you learned to draw so carefully?" The voice continued, taking his attention as permission to elaborate. "Those hospital nights, your wife growing thinner by degrees." Now Willie's hand stopped completely. The pencil remained poised over Lucy's crown, but his breathing had changed, deeper, more controlled, like a man preparing for physical labor. "I gave her the cancer, you know." The words hit like physical blows. Willie's grip tightened on his pencil until his knuckles went white, but he didn't speak. "Cell by cell, I fed it her hope," the Roejob continued with cosmic patience. "I needed you desperate, broken, ready to create from pain instead of joy." The studio lights flickered as Willie's understanding shifted. 3 years of watching Sarah waste away. 3 years of holding her hand while poison dripped into her veins. 3 years of sketching cartoon characters by hospital lamplight while his wife fought for every breath. Every night you drew by her bedside. You fed me your anguish, the entity explained, with the satisfaction of a chess master revealing a long-planned strategy. Your love curdling into grief, such exquisite nourishment. Willie's voice, when it finally came, was barely above a whisper. You killed Sarah?" "I killed her to birth you as my artist," the Roejob confirmed. "Your pain was supposed to become my instrument. I planned to corrupt you completely, make you my willing servant. Instead," the voice carried genuine puzzlement, Instead, you use that same love against me. How disappointing. For a long moment, the only sound was the cosmic entity's patient breathing, if something that vast could be said to breathe. Willie stared down at Lucy's sketch, seeing not just the cartoon character, but every night he'd spent creating her while Sarah slept fitfully beside him. "You think that made me weaker?" he said finally. It wasn't a question. Willie's voice carried a certainty that seemed to surprise even the cosmic predator that had orchestrated his wife's death. Through the connection, Depsey's voice came one more time, broken but determined. "Willie, erase it all, please. I don't want to be the judge anymore. I don't want to be special or chosen or powerful. I want to be who you created, just Depsey, who cares about his friends more than his own importance." "Are you sure?" Chuck asked gently. "You'll just be ordinary." "I want to be ordinary," Depsey said, his voice stronger now. "I want to be your friend, not your superior. I want to worry about Chuck's theories and Lucy's feelings, not cosmic assignments and victim worship. Erase every mark they put on me, Willie. Make me yours again. She died in agony because of you." Willie's pencil moved again, adding impossible detail to Lucy's crown. 3 years of watching cancer eat her alive. 3 years of drawing cartoons to distract her from the pain you were causing. The Roejob's presence pressed closer, expecting rage, despair, the bargaining that always came when mortals learned the scope of its manipulations. Instead, Willie's voice grew stronger. "And you think that made me your servant?" The pencil in his hand began to warm, not with friction, but with something deeper, the heat that came from forge fire, from creation under pressure, from love that had been tested by ultimate loss and emerged harder than diamond. "You have no idea what you created," Willie continued, his work becoming more precise with each word. "Every night in that hospital, I promised her I'd keep bringing joy to the world. Every detail I perfected was a vow to honor her memory." The cosmic entity's confidence wavered for the first time in eons. This wasn't how mortals responded to revelation of ultimate manipulation. This wasn't the broken despair it had cultivated so carefully. "You killed her to break me," Willie said, adding highlights to Lucy's porcelain surface that seemed to glow with their own inner light. "Instead, you taught me what love really costs." The pencil was definitely warm now, spreading heat up through his fingers and into his arm. The character sheet beneath his hand began to radiate the same gentle illumination, driving back the cosmic cold that had invaded his studio. "This is not possible," the Roejob hissed, its vast patience finally cracking. "You are mortal. You are finite. You are mine." "I'm a grandfather," Willie said simply, making the final stroke on Lucy's eyes. Not just restoration, but genuine rebirth. "You wanted a broken artist? You got 40 years of love made visible." The sketch blazed with warm light that had nothing to do with electricity or cosmic horror. It was the illumination that came from Sarah's voice in the cancer ward. "Pour your heart into it, Willie. That's what makes it real." It was the glow of his grandchildren's wonder when he'd shown them new characters. It was every promise kept, every detail perfected, every moment of joy created in the face of unthinkable loss. Lucy's voice echoed from beyond dimensions, clear and strong and unmistakably herself. "I'm here. I'm myself again." The Roejob shrieked, a sound like galaxies grinding against each other, like the heat death of universes, like every story ever told being forgotten simultaneously. Its tentacles writhed in cosmic agony as its carefully laid plans crumbled before the inexplicable power of human love forged in suffering. "You wanted corrupted entertainment?" Willie asked, his pencil now blazing like a star in his grip. His restoration work, even you got a grandfather's love. You killed my wife and created your own destroyer. The studio warmed as cosmic presence began to withdraw. not destroyed. Reality reasserted itself as something far older than alien geometry. The simple truth that love grows stronger under pressure, not weaker. Cosmic distances. The eraser's glow exploded outward, filling the studio with light that was somehow warm and cold simultaneously. The exact temperature of love mixed with protective fury. The entities shrieked as the radiance touched them, their cosmic forms wavering like mirages in desert heat. Impossible! Divya hissed, his multiple eyes screaming something that might have been tears or ichor. We are eternal. We are beyond your mortal comprehension. You're parasites, Willie said, continuing his restoration work even as reality warped around him. And I'm the immune system. The light intensified, and suddenly the entities were retreating, not destroyed but wounded, exiled. They fell backward through dimensional rifts that opened like wounds in space, their screams dopplering away into cosmic distances. We will return. Maiviar's voice echoed from the closing portal. The Roejob's hunger is eternal. The Roejob's voice faded across dimensional distances, wounded but not destroyed. I will find other ways, other creators, other... But its threats were lost in a sudden electrical spark. The destroyed projector, twisted metal and shattered glass scattered across the floor, somehow flickered back to life. One final surge of power through impossibly damaged circuits, wires that shouldn't be able to carry current anymore, somehow managing one last transmission. Chuck and Depsey's faces appeared in the crackling, unstable light. Willie! Chuck's voice was distorted but unmistakably relieved. You did it! Lucy's back! She's herself again! And there, between them, stood Lucy, fully restored, her porcelain surface gleaming with the exact warmth Willie had envisioned, her crown catching light that seemed to come from within. Thank you, she said, her voice carrying 3 years of grief transformed into gratitude. Thank you for... Crack! The projector's final circuit blew in a shower of sparks. The screen went black. The impossible connection severed with electrical finality. Willie sat in sudden silence, staring at the smoking remains of equipment that shouldn't have been able to function. His hands still cramped from hours of detailed work. His sketch of Lucy still lay before him, every line perfect, every detail exactly as he'd intended. But the studio was just a studio again. Warm lamplight, familiar shadows, the comfortable clutter of creative work. No cosmic horror, no dimensional bridges, no talking cartoon characters. Had any of it been real? Willie looked down at his hands, still stained with eraser dust, still aching from the most intense drawing session of his career. The sketch of Lucy was undeniably beautiful, restored to a perfection that seemed almost supernatural. But cartoons didn't talk back. Cosmic entities didn't exist. People died of cancer because that's what cancer did, not because ancient horrors cultivated human suffering. Right? Nobody messes with my family, Willie said quietly, setting down his pencil and flexing his cramped fingers. Nobody. In the warm light of his drawing desks, 3 cartoon characters looked back at him with expressions of pure gratitude. Creations restored to their authentic selves, free from corruption, ready to be exactly what they'd always been meant to be. Innocent, joyful, real, perfect.